Coming up on Mountain News at 6, we finally know which bills Kentucky lawmakers could consider this session. We'll have a look at some that tackle some big issues across the Commonwealth. Plus, one Eastern Kentucky school district is upgrading its school security.
Plus, a few flurries are possible by tomorrow morning, but all eyes are on the weekend. Your forecast coming up as Mountain News at 6 starts now.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 6.
We finally know which bills Kentucky lawmakers could consider this session. A new law prevented the posting of legislation before the session started yesterday. This year, lawmakers will look at a wide variety of issues impacting education, crime, public health, and finances. You could even help decide what becomes law in issues that end up on the ballot. WYMT's Phil Pendleton has more on some of the issues legislators might tackle.
It's going to be a busy legislative session, and while early talk has been solely on the budget, once the session started Tuesday, more than 70 bills were filed in the House and more than 50 in the Senate. Senate Bill 10 would put to voters if they would like to elect the governor and the president in the same year.
So the biggest upside is a cost savings and higher turnout in a year that elects the governor, the secretary of state, and so forth. The biggest downside, of course, is you've got a much longer ballot.
There's bills to allow racing events on state highways, one to require two-person crews on trains, and one to abolish the death penalty. Last year, lawmakers approved medical marijuana, and once again, a bill has been filed to decriminalize recreational use, but only for adults.
Right. For this particular piece of legislation, we're just talking about possession of personal use quantities, which is defined in the bill as 1 ounce or less.
Dozens of bills have been filed in each chamber, but we will likely see hundreds more filed over the next several weeks. The deadlines to file bills is not until the last week of February. We could likely see more bills dealing with education, infrastructure, and spending.
It would be the Kentucky SAFE Act, the crime bill that Jared Bauman has worked on. I think that will probably get one of those ceremonial numbers.
Also on the education front is House Bill 51 that would require public schools to obtain parental approval for participation in certain questionnaires and activities. In Frankfort, Phil Pendleton, WYMT Mountain News.
It's not yet been filed, but we are likely to see a constitutional amendment which would let voters decide on school choice issues. Outgoing Attorney General Daniel Cameron has already figured out what his next endeavor will be. Cameron has been named the Chief Executive Officer for the nonprofit organization, the 1792 Exchange. In a release, the organization says they seek to preserve freedom by partnering with allies to steer public companies back to neutral on divisive ideological issues. Cameron will join organization President Paul Fitzpatrick in leading the charge. Governor Beshear is set to deliver his State of the Commonwealth address tonight, but before that, Republican lawmakers gave remarks on their priorities for this legislative session. House Representative David Osborne and Senate President Robert Stivers said both chambers of the General Assembly have been working together on a proposed budget. Governor Andy Beshear has proposed an 11% raise for school employees. Stivers and Osborne say you can expect to see investments in education, but they will not mandate across-the-board raises.
I expect it to be built largely like we've built the last several budgets, which is to find places that we feel like that we can invest the people's money wisely, but also remain very fiscally responsible and balanced budget.
Both say you can also expect to see continued conversations on learning loss initiatives and addressing needs of children across the state during this session. Of course, we'll have some of the highlights of the governor's State of the Commonwealth address coming up tonight at 11.
We are tracking some chilly weather this evening. Here's a live look from the WYMT studios over in Perry County. That current temperature 36 degrees as we are calm and cool here in our region right now. Possibly a stray sprinkle or snow flurry over far southern Kentucky, also northeast Tennessee and southwest Virginia. But for most of us, we are just dry, cool and cloudy as we go into this evening. But as we zoom out, we are tracking system number 1, a weak cold front close to Cincinnati that will continue pushing off to the south as we go into tonight. Also early on Thursday, so possibly a little bit of some snow flurry action as we go into early on Thursday, especially in those higher elevations of southeast Kentucky, also southwest Virginia. Those temperatures right now are chilly in the upper 30s and lower 40s, and lows are back in the upper 20s and lower 30s as you wake up on Thursday. So some more cold weather is on the way by Thursday, all thanks to that first weather system. But the big story, we are tracking some more rain chances, also some wintry mix chances as we go into this weekend, and system number 3 is on tap for early next week. All those details coming up in just a few minutes. Steve?
All right, thank you, Cameron. One person is dead after a crash in Logan County, West Virginia. It happened early this morning. The sheriff says 82-year-old Helen Cardish was driving along Holden Road when she crossed the center line, hitting black ice before colliding with a coal truck. Kentucky State Police say they've been contacted about a burglary in Harlan County. They say it happened at a home off Spencer Road in the Cloverlit community. They say the back door of the home was broken into. The owner of that home is a Vietnam veteran and is currently in a nursing home. Some of the items taken from the home include oxygen tanks, electric drills, and a TV. If you have any information about this case, you can call KSP Post 10 at 606-573-3131. In Wayne County, 3 people are behind bars after police say a man was assaulted by them. The incident happened last week when 2 men and a woman went into another man's home on Danny Flynn Road. The man reported that the woman held a knife to his throat and was assaulted by one of the 2 men. After arrest warrants were obtained, Candace Crabtree, Austin Lee, and Joshua Jones were taken into custody. All 3 were taken to the Wayne County Detention Center. A Harlan man faces charges after police found drugs on him during a traffic stop. The incident happened back on December 23rd. After police searched the car 59-year-old Tony Halbert was in. A crystal-like substance was found in the back seat, along with a cut straw with white residue inside. Halbert was taken to the Harlan County Detention Center but has since been released. An Estill County woman says she was beaten, tortured, robbed, and kidnapped from her home 4 days ago. She says she's so traumatized she can't even go back into her own house. Melissa Riddle says at 3 a.m. she heard a woman breaking in. She says that woman beat her, stole from her home, then forced her into her own car and drove her to a hotel in another county.
They was talking about how they was going to, when they got back out of that hotel room, how they was going to take me out and murder me and what they was going to do with my body.
Eventually, Riddle says she was able to escape and drove back to Estill County. Right now, police have not made any arrests. School safety has always been a priority for school systems. However, it's on the rise now more than ever. WYMT's Olivia Calfee tells us about new technology that Perry County school officials and law enforcement are excited about.
New technology that has the capability to take school safety to a whole new level. It is called a Faro scanner, something Hazard Police Department Major Zach Miller says could be a game changer.
If you set the scanner up in a room, it takes millions of points of measurement within a matter of minutes. Now you take those millions of points of measurements and you put it in what's called a point cloud or a data file.
Saying the technology can create a 3D 2-scale model of every school in Perry County. So in the event of an incident, any law enforcement official responding, familiar with the school or not, knows the school layout prior to entry.
If there's a call that says, you know, the incident's in the auditorium, well, what's the quickest way to get to the auditorium? Well, you wouldn't know unless you're familiar with it.
And Perry County School Safety Coordinator Harvey Caldwell says when Major Miller approached the school board about the implementation of the Faro scanner, he was impressed.
Being able to have a 3D model and a file of every building in our district, and every police department and fire department having access to that is going to be huge in the event that there's a crisis, which we hope never occurs.
When HPD finishes its training next week, Miller says the 2 other closest scanners to our region include Bristol, Tennessee, and Nicholasville, putting Perry County schools and law enforcement officials at the forefront of school safety in the Commonwealth. In Perry County, Olivia Calfee, WYMT Mountain News.
Multiple HPD officers are receiving training on the scanner next week, hoping to put it to use scanning during the summer and implemented by the start of the next school year. One Eastern Kentucky superintendent is stepping down from his post after the school year ends. Pike County School Superintendent Dr. Reed Adkins announced he is retiring. Dr. Adkins has served the district for 28 years and says he's looking forward to his next chapter. He has also worked in the district as a teacher and a principal. Here's some of what he told us about his decision earlier today. Quote, "I've had a great career and been superintendent 9 years. The system's in better shape. It's in great shape financially, great shape academically. Our test scores are phenomenal. It's been a great career in public education. I'm ready to move on to different endeavors." Adkins will remain in his role until June 30th. Folks are remembering a Letcher County man who died last week. Eugene Welch Davis was a teacher for more than 60 years and served as head football coach at Pikeville High School at one point. He also served as the school's athletic director and baseball coach for several seasons. After retiring in 1997, Davis was inducted into the Pikeville High School Hall of Fame. Here are the funeral arrangements for Davis. Visitation will be Friday from 5 p.m. till 8 p.m. and Saturday from 1 p.m. till 5 p.m., both taking place at First Baptist Church in Pikeville. Davis's funeral will be Sunday at 2 p.m. at Pikeville High School. Davis was 92 years old.
Well, we are tracking a busy forecast for the weekend also as we go into next week. Those details coming up after this break.